What's going on, Vapor fans? Today we're going to be talking about the Murdex atomizer that you see sitting next to me over here. And this little guy has really logically put me through the ringer on this. Now, it is an RTA that you could select with A, B, and B. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the leads for the dual configuration that you could put in there. So basically you set up two coils on the inside and either both coils could light up or just one independently. And in order to get more in depth to it, we're just gonna have to stay tuned. So let's go. So before we begin, quick dive down cam just to show you where I'm getting this information from, www.murdex.com. So therefore, we're going to go over to the screen capture real quick to go check out this website. Okay guys, so we're over at the screen capture over here, and we're just going to do exactly as I showed you before, www.murdex.com. And let's take a looky. Reported web forgery. This page has been reported web forgery and has been blocked based on your security preferences, whatever, etc., etc. I don't know if the rest of you guys get this or if it's just me, but let's not go there. Alright, so coming back to the dive down cam over here, let's just go ahead and open up this little box together and take a look inside. In the box over here, I thought the packaging was decent, mostly just the paper packaging over here, nothing that you would really keep or whatever. On top of this, a lot of padding, lot of padding. Okay, so let me just toss this one aside, and then you see over here, model Halo T stainless steel. I believe this thing also comes in the titanium version. Alright, so what do we have over here? Okay, we have basically the tank itself, and then we have some extensions in here. There's an extra ring over here, and then another little piece on the inside that is an extender for the chimney, so that this thing could go from 3 mil to a 5 mil capacity. I'll show you guys roughly how that looks, but first let me go ahead and open this thing and show you what's underneath. Let's set this aside real quick because it's kind of in my way. So as you can see over here, this is obviously where we would go ahead and set up our coils, right? However, the way that this thing is, it doesn't really look like there's a place for coils. You know what I mean? Okay, now if I went ahead and then installed a coil in here, right, I'd also have to make sure that the coil is not too big in diameter. That way I don't touch any of the other posts and cause any kind of potential strange shorts or anything like that. So should I go ahead and install a single coil in here using like diagonal posts? Okay, that would be alright, but again, I have to make sure that, you know, it stays on top of the airflow and not too big. If I go ahead and then I do two coils on the inside, right, then I kind of have to bend them to my will in order to get it seated in the right place. Many of you guys out there who are more experienced builders know what I'm talking about right away, but don't worry, I will get into this in a little bit, okay? Before I go any further on this thing, I just want to talk about the extension. So, there's a little piece right here, okay, kind of like just a pipe that just extends the chimney portion over here, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and unscrew this, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove the chimney cap over here. So again, this portion would just you would exchange this little guy, okay, and then over to the longer one over here, or here, right? We would go ahead and then put this over here to extend it, and then this would be now a much longer barrel, right? And then this would all come together like so. Now you would be using the 5 mil extended version. Okay, so let's get into the little quirks and stuff about this thing real quick. Okay, some stuff about it that I wasn't too crazy about. Okay, the O-ring in here, pretty good feeling, nice. All right, it's not too loose, it's not too tight. It's just enough so that like I could easily adjust things and it'll stay put without me accidentally, you know, changing the settings on this. Okay. However, what I didn't like about it is that it could potentially come off, and that's kind of, I don't know, kind of missing a step. Another thing is the way to fill this little guy. So basically, you would have to set up everything over here, and then you know, drip your fluid into the side over here, okay, and then after, you know, you have it pretty much to the rim, then you go ahead and then put this back together like so. Okay, there's no top fill option on this thing. At least I haven't seen it for myself. So, you know, fiddling around with it and stuff, there was no any way to top fill this thing. Now, the reason why you couldn't top fill this thing, right, is because when the chimney sits onto the base of this, there's no threading whatsoever. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that, and you're gonna be like, what the hell, right? So there's no threading on this whatsoever. So when the chimney just sits on this thing, it just pretty much just sits on this thing. Okay, and then whatever we wick over here, we just got to trust that the juice wicks. So far, the build that I currently have in my other setup, yeah, wicking is fine. Everything is okay, but there are certain things that I need to show you guys, and I'm going to bring that up in just a second. Okay, so this is the So this is the Murdex that I'm personally vaping on, and you can see that I currently have it in the 3 mil mode. Okay, there's a little bit of juice on my hands because I was just currently using this. So I'm gonna take mine off and then show you the build that I have inside. So clearly I have the dual coil setup in here, right? And I tried my best to wick this thing logically as so, okay? But what I want to do here is intentionally release the wicking of my build and show you guys what happened to mine over here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and lift up my wicks over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and yank it out of the build, okay? Perfectly good build, nothing wrong with it, but for the sake of education, so let's get cracking. Okay, so as you can see here, right, the way that this thing is built, and I'm going to bring this closer to the overhead cam and then focus it for you guys, right? You see how the build is done? Basically, it's a force build, okay? There is no particular orientation or anything like that. You just pretty much got to force it to happen. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about if we were to build this thing from scratch, right? So what I would do is I would get my screwdrivers out over here and then use something not too big, right? Something like this, probably like the 0 screwdriver or whatever, and then go ahead and then do my wraps on it. After I do my wraps on it, then I would put the leads near the screws over here and then give it a reasonable distance, because then afterwards I would stick the screwdriver in and then raise it up. You see what I'm saying? So I would put the screwdriver in like so, and then move it over to the airflow hole like that, and that's how you get these 2 coils in place like so. Okay, so I kind of don't like that, you know. I kind of wish there was at least holes over here so that like we could put the leads in, right, and then and then tighten things down, and then, you know, bring it up over the screws or something like that, or maybe in the other direction at least, you know, something so that like you're not just, you know, forcing the Kanthal, nichrome, or stainless, whatever kind of wire that you're currently using. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the A, B, and B portion. Okay, so as you can see over here, there's like a couple of selectors, and then over here for the leads, there's an A and a B on it. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring this closer to the camera and then focus that for you guys so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so you see over here, it's the positive with the A, and then there's another side, this is the positive on the right side with the B, right? And then over here you got the A, B, B, right? Okay, so if I did already mention this before, as far as the airflow goes, right, unlike, you know, all the airflow these days, there's kind of like a tab on the side so that like we can either close off the airflow and then we can open the airflow all the way, but then it will stop instead of just letting it merry-go-round. I don't like this, you know, pseudo round robin kind of fashion thing. I don't know. It's just, it screams we're missing a step to me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say it's cheap, but I would say it was it was rushed. Okay, so coming back to again with these ABB selector or whatever, let me zoom out a little bit over here so that like I could go ahead and put it on a mod for you guys. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and have this thing selected on AB first. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this, right? So I have it set on AB, and then both coils should glow. See that? Okay. Both coils are glowing. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and toggle my thing to B, right? And then this side says B, right? And the other side is A, right? So only one of them should glow, right? This is the B side. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and toggle it to A, and then I'm going to fire it again. They're both glowing. What's going on? All right. I'm not going to go through all of the atomizers that they sent to me. Okay, this is A, B together. This is me toggling it over to just A. I'm pushing it to the right as much as I can, right? And then fire. I mean, it seems to, like, you know, the A side is firing a little bit faster than the other side is when I have it set up this way, but still both coils are glowing. But then when I set it over to B, then the B side works. Okay, and I understand that in this instruction manual over here, right, we're supposed to get the A, the AB, and the B, right? Okay, mine is not working as great, but I'm just going to chalk that up to defect. Okay, we're not going to, you know, gladiator draw blood on this thing. It's not a big deal. Possibly if I open up another one, it should be working properly, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay, not going to nitpick on it. You could go ahead and set up the single coil over here in this photo as shown, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. Should you go ahead and set up like the single coil or whatever, unless you're going to have it really high and raised up, right, then you want to make sure that you don't touch any other posts, which would limit you to a certain diameter inside over here. Like, you don't want to go too big or you might have some problems. Okay, so that's pretty much it for all the technical insight of this thing. I want to come back up to FaceTime and let's talk about this atomizer a little bit and my thoughts on it. Okay, so join me. All right, guys, so back to impressions and thoughts about the Murdex RDTA. When I received this thing, a reasonable amount of machine oil on it, so it will require some cleaning, scrubbing with like an old toothbrush if you have one, or at least put it in the sonic bath if you have one. So that kind of gets like a thumbs down for me because, as I said over and over again, 2016, it is not... We should not be dealing with machine oil anymore, okay? This is not early industry anymore with, like, you know, silly clones or whatever. You only bought it for $10 and then there's nothing there's nothing you can really complain about. Searching around for this thing online, it roughly goes for about, it initially went for about $60, but it goes for about $45 retail. So $45 retail, I'm not saying $45 retail, you absolutely must have it clean or something like that, but I will say that there's a lot of atomizers out there that you can buy for $45 and it will absolutely be clean. So in a way, kind of, sort of, yeah, it should have been cleaned, all right? That kind of, it's kind of one of my gripes. All right, so now let's talk about this A selector thing, right? What do you guys think about it? Okay, I'd really like to see a lot of comments down below about the A, B, and B thing, okay? Because I see it kind of sort of like this, okay? The moment they came out with this ability, all right, and then saying that like, okay, you could select two things or whatever, right? What I didn't like about it, okay, is kind of like the touchscreen thing, kind of like the Bluetooth thing, kind of like all these gimmicky features and whatever that I have no choice but to chalk it up to gimmicky. And here's why it's gimmicky, okay? I'm not saying this just for the sake of hate or something like that. No. This is a technical show, and we have to like define things. That's what we're trying to do. The reason why it's gimmicky is because the manufacturer itself doesn't explain or suggest or talk about why they gave us this feature. Sure, I see that it is a feature. It is a huge feature. It is a very that sets it apart from a lot of other atomizers out there. But sell it to me, sir. Why do I need this? Why would I want to select between A and B and whatever? What, I'm going to have a temperature control coil and then like a regular coil in there? Well, okay, right, I get that, right? But how often am I doing that? Is that even practical that I do something like that? At what point for me as a reviewer, right? If I go ahead and then just start talking about like, different things and different possibilities with this A and AB selector or whatever, am I in between the idea of actual innovation, or am I starting to just make excuses for this item? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like when people say like, that's not a con, that's a feature, and for the rest of us who are sitting there like dude, I'm not buying it, because now it seems as if like you're just making excuses for the item. So the same thing with a lot of other stuff, right? That has like Bluetooth functions and touchscreen functions and stuff like that, when it's really not necessary. And in this case over here, okay, I'm still torn in between whether it's necessary or not, and I really needed a nudge from this company itself to say to me, Peg, look, this is what we did, this is why we did it. Instead of saying like, hey, how about we do this, and then you guys just go ahead and make up stories on your own or something like that. That's kind of not cool to me, right? I want to know, as far as the AB selector or whatever, what was your true intentions of this, and how does this like advance us forward in vaping? How does this actually benefit any one of us? How is this put into practical use, right? Because then I would be able to stand behind this thing and vouch for it, and there's clearly something great about this item that I'm not seeing, and then I could be like, oh yeah, you should really try out this item because it could do this and this, and here's why. I haven't found out a really solid why yet as to why you should go with this atomizer specifically because of this feature. Now, on top of this, other than its feature, I also feel as if like this atomizer, man, they really their mind was all around this AAB selector thing that, dude, you forgot everything else. You know what I mean? It's like we're going to put turbo in this car that like we totally forgot the windows and the tires and whatever, but look, it has turbo, So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about like how the airflow control over here could just keep free spinning and free spinning. There's no top fill. There's no a lot of other features that like your average RDTAs out there that has. I also would like an explanation as to why the chimney has no threading. I mean, did that seem kind of strange to you guys? Over time, I haven't used it enough to tilt it, intentionally tilt it sideways and leave it, on its side or whatever, to see if there would be any leaking or whatever. But as far as its wicking action so far, it's pretty nice. And surprisingly, if for you guys out there who are wondering how does she vape, it vapes pretty good. Sadly, it vapes pretty good. The airflow hole in here, and along with the drip tip, the way it is, the way the bore is, I would say this is kind of like a small to medium sized bore, and taking a hit off of it, it's like a bored out K-Fun if it was bored out even more. So it's actually quite pleasant. But the problem, again, right, is that, like, for the way it is right now, and plus I have it on the AB set up together, so I have, you know, both coils glowing, the airflow going through it, and whatever. This is just your simple standard setup that you could have gotten out of all sorts of things. You know, if you intentionally put in like a dual coil setup in your E-leaf, like, you know, Limo tanks and stuff like that, you probably would have gotten the same result as well. So for the whole AB selector part of it, I don't see myself using it, nor going out of my way to find an excuse to use it, right? I'm not going to say, like, okay, I'm going to build a Canthal coil over here, and then I'm going to build a temperature control coil over here, and then I'm going to, you know, toggle in between the two and whatever. I could do that, but I don't see the practicality in doing that on a daily basis. You see what I'm saying? It might be kind of cool if, let's say, we owned a brick and mortar shop, right? And then just be like, well, here's how it tastes on temperature control, and here's how it tastes on regular wattage mode. So that's the temperature control experience to give to people off of the exact same atomizer. I get that, okay? But beyond that, I can't think of any, like, really smart reasons for it. And maybe it's just me. And should I try to push the boundaries any further, then I find myself almost in the area of making excuses for this atomizer. And I don't want to do that, okay? So, yeah, guys, please go ahead and leave me a comment below. What do you think about the AABB selector thing? And, you think this is actually, you know, worth it to pick up, or would you most likely take a pass on this one? So, as always, guys, you know how we are over here on PVA. We always try to vape clever. So, as always, I encourage you to do your homework and vape clever, everyone. Take care.